Welcome to Pinoy Chess and into the heart of strategic chaos at the Schloss Weissenhaus resort in Germany for the 2026 FIDE Freestyle Chess World Championship. Today's battle features a generational clash. 35-year-old Magnus Carlsen, the undisputed world number one, facing 22-year-old Indian powerhouse Arjun Erigaisi. This game is played in starting position 277, where the bishops are tucked into the kingside corners, promising a nightmarish lack of coordination. Arjun, nicknamed the Madman of Chess by Carlsen himself, is about to unleash a strategic masterclass that leaves the legend reeling. The game opens with a psychological probe as Arjun pushes his pawn to f4, and Carlsen immediately mirrors with his pawn to f5. Arjun continues his aggressive expansion with pawn to c4, forcing Carlsen to reposition his knight to b6. Arjun solidifies his structure with pawn to d3, while Carlsen prepares a central break with pawn to c6. Both players prepare their cornered bishops as Arjun plays pawn to g3 and Carlsen responds with pawn to g6. Now, Arjun begins to seize the initiative with a stunning display of spatial dominance, pushing his pawn to b4, which Carlsen meets with a strike in the center, moving his pawn to e5. Arjun ignores traditional development, thrusting his pawn to a4, while Carlsen counters with pawn to d5. Arjun's space advantage grows as he plays pawn to a5, kicking the knight to d7. This pawn war is a strategic marvel. Arjun has not moved a single piece from his back rank for the first 9 moves, effectively suffocating Carlsen's forces. The tension explodes in the center as Arjun's pawn takes d5 and Carlsen's pawn takes d5. Arjun continues the onslaught with pawn takes e5, and Carlsen finally activates a piece as his bishop takes e5. Then the first Tactical Thunderbolt lands. Arjun's bishop takes a7, his first move with a back rank piece, forcing Carlsen's rook to a8. Arjun calmly retreats his bishop to e3, and Carlsen attempts to coordinate his army with queen to e7. Arjun begins rerouting his forces, moving his knight to c2, while Carlsen mirrors the maneuver with his knight to c7. Arjun develops his knight to f3, and Carlsen creates immediate pressure by moving his bishop to c3. Then Arjun unleashes a monster, centralizing his knight to d4, dominating the board. Carlsen brings his rook to e8, seeking counterplay on the open file. Arjun improves his coordination with bishop to f3, while Carlsen tries to stabilize his queenside with pawn to b6. Arjun repositions his bishop to d2, and Carlsen decides to eliminate the central threat as his bishop takes d4. Arjun's knight takes d4, maintaining his iron grip on the center, while Carlsen's pawn takes a5 attempts to simplify the position. Arjun activates his queen to c2, and Carlsen's pawn takes b4 opens the queenside. Arjun reaches total king safety as he performs a short castle, while Carlsen's queen to c5 fights for activity. Arjun plays the multi-purpose queen to b2, and Carlsen retreats his queen to b6, losing a critical tempo. Arjun seizes the open file with rook to c1, while Carlsen's knight to e5 tries to find a foothold. Arjun immediately challenges the knight with bishop to f4. In a moment of extreme discomfort, Carlsen moves his king to d7, a psychological probe that signals the impending collapse of his defense. Arjun plays the prophylactic king to h1, and Carlsen doubles his power with rook to c8. Arjun removes the key defender as his bishop takes e5, and Carlsen's rook takes e5 recaptures. Then comes the tactical masterpiece, Arjun's knight to c6. This move forks Carlsen's resources and leaves him in a position that chess legend Judit Polgar described as a horror nightmare. Carlsen desperately defends with rook to e6, but Arjun's queen to g7 check invades the 7th rank. Carlsen's king is forced to d6, exposed in the center of the board. Arjun's knight to d4 returns with tempo, attacking the rook on e6. Carlsen makes a final stand with rook to e8, but Arjun delivers the finishing bomb. Rook takes b4. This exchange sacrifice obliterates Carlsen's remaining structure. Facing a mate in 10 position and a total tactical blowout, the world champion flags, losing on time in a game where Arjun's brilliance reigns supreme. Lessons learned. This game provides a profound lesson in tempo elasticity, where Arjun's initial refusal to develop pieces allowed him to snap back with overwhelming force once his pawn structure had constricted Carlsen's options. We also witness material fluidity in the final stages. Arjun's willingness to sacrifice a rook for a pawn was not a loss of material, but a conversion of physical pieces into a terminal attack. Arjun Erigaisi's pawn war proves that in freestyle chess, the most powerful units on the board can often be the ones that move only one square at a time.